Hold the line.
One last battle to hold the line against the night.
The line must be drawn here. This far, no farther. Hold the line. No one gets through, no matter what.
Sir, what are your orders?
There's only one order, Lieutenant. We hold.
Incoming transmission.
Allied reinforcements have arrived from the west.
On Mojo 50 Radio. The Millennial Conservative Resistance begins right here, right now.
Oh, yes indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, the new Millennial Conservative Resistance does indeed begin right here, right now with you. You were listening to, and I hope watching, the HoloNet on the mighty Mojo 50, coming to you from the incredibly sophisticated, beautiful, and brand spankin' new, top secret forward operations facility of Mojo 50. That's right, we are on the deserted outskirts of Phoenix at this top secret, non-disclosed location that is the headquarters for all HoloNet operatives. Welcome to the show. Today is Saturday. It is the 29th of June, the year of our Lord 2019, and this past week brought a lot of new developments in the coming election for 2020. Probably one of the biggest that I think is going to impact all of us deeply in our heart of hearts is the fact that Mojo 50 pretty much got kicked in the by YouTube just for showing and commenting on the debate. Kind of a la what happened to Steven Crowder and Louder with Crowder around the time of the Oscars when they did their anti-Oscar party. And, they had picture-in-picture of the Oscars going. And they were talking over the top, making commentary and laughs and jokes. Much the same way that our mutual compatriots, the Defenders Live, Rants of Izzo, Mr. Dominic Izzo, and Matt Locke were doing here on Mojo 50 this past week. I am pissed about this. I mean, this got on my nerves, and here I was very torn between watching, the Mojo 50 coverage and watching Louder with Crowder's coverage. I posted up this SpongeBob meme. I'm going to have to pull it up here. It's where his eyes are split because he's trying to read two things at once. I thought it was funny. If you didn't, then I really just don't know what to tell you. I thought it was hysterical. But I digress. This shouldn't have been an issue. I mean, if there's a clear-cut case of fair use, then I don't know what it is. But, this isn't something for me to worry about. This is something that I know El Jefe Ron is going to take care of. There's a SpongeBob meme that I told you about, trying to decide watching Mojo 50's coverage or watching Louder with Crowder debate coverage. And, I am a big Louder with Crowder fan. Normally you see me with my Mug Club mug here. Today I've got the Mojo 50 because I'm drinking something a little different. I'll leave you in suspense to decide what that is. But I was a little bit torn because it seemed to me, and I am loath to criticize somebody who's been at this a lot longer than I have, somebody who has much better resources and, of course, a much bigger name, but it seemed to me that Crowder and his team played it very safe. They actually showed very little of the debate itself on screen at any given time, and it was more focused on the comedic performance of Crowder and his troupe, his producers, his in-studio guests, and that's fine. But when you're looking for commentary on the debate, I honestly believe that Mojo stuck to that particular format better. Crowder, for long swaths of the debate, pulled away from it completely, didn't have picture-in-picture going or anything like that. They put on a hell of a show. It was very funny, but I didn't get the same call and response that I like to see from coverage of an event like a debate like that. But, hey, to each their own. I thought they put on a hell of a show, and I laud them for doing it. But like I said, I think they were trying to play along to YouTube's rules, and YouTube's rules are completely ridiculous. But you know what isn't completely ridiculous? In fact, is the furthest thing from it. You need flip-flops. It's summertime. I need new flip-flops. My flip-flops are like wrecked. I mean, I should have brought them. They're like devastated. I've got like this pair of like, what do they call those? Tevas, where it's like the long band that goes over the top of your instep. And I picked those up. God, I think I bought them at a Fry's out here. That might be a Kroger for you guys back east. But what I need to get my hands on here, I'm going to go full screen so you can see it as clearly as possible. I need to get me some combat flip-flops. Now, I know they were out of the larger sizes. I think Matt Locke said they were out of the 14s for a little while. But my dainty foot is about an 11.5 into a 12. But I'm looking at these. I'm looking at the Flopperator Coyotes or the AK-47 in brown. Like, I like the AK-47 in brown on here. But you guys got to go check this out. This is combatflipflops.com. Okay, and you have a 25% off code that you can use there. It's Hollow25. If you want to support the show, you want to support Mojo 50, and more importantly, you want to support a good cause, pick up your footwear, and they also have some nice apparel on here as well, some clothing and accessories from combatflipflops.com. Now, Combat Flip-Flops is really, really quite unique. Combat Flip-Flops, their entire premise is to wage the peace. They want to use the power of the economy, the power of entrepreneurship and business in order to bring stability to war-torn areas, specifically Afghanistan. So with Combat Flip-Flops, whenever you make a purchase, money goes toward educating an Afghanistani young girl through secondary school. You know, they call it secondary school, rest of the world, to us it's high school. But you're putting an Afghani little girl through high school. You're giving the gift of an education. And what's more, these combat flip-flops, these combat flip-flop products are manufactured in Afghanistan by Afghanistanis in a repurposed Soviet boot factory that these entrepreneurs set up to give these people good jobs. Because how do you reduce radicalization? How do you reduce terrorism? You reduce it, you get rid of it by giving people means, by giving people a good job. You know, if you're working for a good living and you're coming home every day loving life, your kid's going to school, you got food on the table, you got good clothes on your back, you have all the essentials and maybe some of the nicer things in life, you're a lot less likely to yell out Allahu Akbar and start taking people out in the highlands of Afghanistan. So join us in waging the peace. Combatflipflops.com. Use your promo code HOLLOW25, HOLLOW 25, and you can get 25% off your purchase on combatflipflops.com. So that's just one of the most awesome things I've seen, and we have a lot of really great sponsors, but I'm excited about this. I mean, that actually feels like your dollar's doing something. So I'm down with that. I'm down with voting with my dollars, making changes in the world. But what I wanted to get to, following up on this debate controversy, now put my hackles down now, from complaining about YouTube and their censorious bullshit, taking a shot at Mojo 50, my beloved Mojo 50, the dream of Doc Thompson. How dare they? Thank God for Mojo 50 TV. If you haven't gotten on Mojo 50 TV yet, do it, man. It's a free sign-up. Get on Mojo 50. I've been broadcasting the HoloNet there on Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern. I know I'm not on the schedule yet because it's not entirely consistent because my uploading system's kind of shoddy, but that's all right. But make sure you check that out. So, going to the fallout from the debate, I was browsing the Associated Press this morning. And the AP actually had a reasonably good fact check on here for the Democrats on the migrant kids, the rich, and the climate. Okay, so let's go to step by step here. So first, there was a lot of stones being thrown at the rich, at the 1%ers. You know what I mean? So Bernie Sanders said 83% of your tax benefits go to the top 1%. AP reports that statistic is not close to true now. The Vermont senator is referring to 2027 projections, not the present day, and he doesn't include that critical context with his statement. His figures come from an analysis by the Tax Policy Center that found that in 2027, the top 1% of earners would get 83% of the savings from the tax overhaul signed into law by President Trump. Why is that simple? Most of the tax cuts for individuals are set to expire after 2025, so the benefits for everyone else simply go away. So, that's a Pinocchio right there, man. I mean, he's talking about this as if it's writ and wrote right now in 2019. Dude, this is 8 years from now, and it's a projection. How many projections are wrong every day that get coughed up by Washington, D.C.? Like, I don't know, the polls that said Trump didn't have a chance in 2016. Oh, time-delayed rim shot, man. There's nothing worse than that. It's like, womp, womp. So, on to race. Kamala Harris, senator from California, said to Vice President Biden, "Do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?" She's referring to the forced busing of students following Brown versus the Board of Education. Joe Biden said, "I did not oppose busing in America. What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education. That's what I opposed." Well, it seems like at some point in his life, maybe creepy Uncle Joe actually believed in something called states' rights. Say it ain't so, Joe. Yeah, no. Former vice president claiming he only opposed the U.S. Education Department's push for busing to desegregate schools because he didn't want federal mandates forced on local school boards. In the early and mid-1970s, there were fault lines in almost every U.S. community. Here we go. If you were a politician opposing federally enforcing busing, you were enabling any local school board or city government that was fighting against it. As a senator in the 70s, Biden supported several measures, including one signed by Jimmy Carter, that restricted the federal government's rule in forced busing. So, what she's basically pointing out is that Joe Biden, and she's right in pointing this out, opposed a lot of major initiatives when it came to desegregation in the 1970s. She's dredging up his very, very long and very, very checkered past to use against him. And it's funny, because a lot of Democrats consistently voted against civil rights laws. Strom Thurmond ring any bells? On to the climate. Biden, on President Barack Obama's record, said he is the first man to bring together the entire world, 196 nations, to commit a deal to climate change.
All of you!
Yeah, because that's completely wrong. In 1997, way before Obama was president, nations across the world met in Japan and hammered out the Kyoto Protocol, which we also didn't endorse, because that was also bullshit. The treaty itself stemmed from the 1992 United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, which was also bullshit. Oh, and by the way, I've mentioned Bernie Sanders like twice, and I forgot my my official.
Son of a bitch!
There you go. But yeah. So very, very selective memories on stage. Now, on to the migrant children, and this is where I am so proud of the Associated Press. I want to know, was a proctology degree required to pull their head out of their collective asses for this? Oops, I didn't censor myself. Oh, dear. Biden, on President Trump's treatment of migrant children at the border, the idea that he's in court with his Justice Department saying children in cages do not need a bed, do not need a blanket, do not need a toothbrush, that is outrageous. Kamala Harris said, "I will release children from cages." John Hickenlooper, whose campaign slogan should be "Google me," because nobody has a clue who the hell he is, former Colorado governor, said, "If you would ever told me any time in my life this country would sanction federal agents to take children from the arms of their parents, put them in cages, and actually put them up for adoption, in Colorado we call that kidnapping, I would have told you it was unbelievable." Unfortunately, as the AP reports, miraculously, they are tapping into a misleading and common insinuation by Democrats about Trump placing, quote, children in cages, Listen to this. The AP is finally admitting the cages are actually chain link fences, and the Obama-Biden administration used them too. Children and adults are held behind them inside holding Border Patrol facilities under the Trump administration as well. Obama's administration detained large numbers of unaccompanied children inside chain link fences in 2014, which the Arizona Republic originally reported on in 2014. And as soon as all this bullshit started to break, the Arizona Republic pointed out to the mainstream media at large, guys, the photos you keep using for this, first off, they're ours. Second off, they're from 2014, you idiots.
You dirty, dirty smear merchants, get back.
Sargon was right. Dirty, dirty smear merchants indeed. Anyhow, the AP goes on to say children are placed in such areas by age and sex for safety reasons. Gee, I wonder. And are supposed to be held for no longer than 72 hours by the Border Patrol. But as the number of migrants continues to grow under the Trump administration, the system is clogged at every end. So Health and Human Services, who manages the care of the children in custody, can't come to get the children in time. Officials say they are increasingly holding children for 5 days or longer. Yeah. And now finally, we come to Bernie Sanders, Medicare for all.
Your poison running through my veins!
Sanders said under Medicare for all, the vast majority of people... Excuse me, hang on, I gotta get in my Bernie voice. The vast majority of the people in this country will be paying significantly less for health care than they are now. Associated Press reports that's probably true, but it's only part of the equation for a family. Sanders' plan for a government-run healthcare system to replace private insurance calls for no premiums, no copays, or deductibles, but the taxes would have to go up significantly as the government takes on trillions of dollars in healthcare costs now covered by employers and individuals. Independent studies estimate the government would be spending an additional 28 to 36 trillion with a T over 10 years, although Medicare for All supporters say that's overstating it. So I want to say a personal congratulations, job well done, to Associated Press writers Hope Yen, Stephen Braun, Josh Boak, Ricardo Alonso Zaldivar, and Amanda Seitz, who contributed to this report. This took balls, especially at the Associated Press. This took Randy Marsh, South Park, Buffalo Soldier in a wheelbarrow balls. I mean, just swinging nads to actually walk up to your editor at the AP and place this on the desk, keeping a straight face. So, press F for the team at Associated Press. Good Lord, go with them into battle. Anywho, you got a gun? Have you got a gun? If you're listening to this, you've probably got a gun. You probably have more than one gun. I've got a gun. I'm not going to tell you where it is. I'm not going to show it because I don't want to get thrown off the YouTubes. But I keep everything locked up. I don't keep anything loaded because I got kids. But if you have a weapon and you want to be able to store it as safely as is humanly possible, you need to check out thegunbox.com. Thegunbox.com. Right over here. These are some of the safest possible storage solutions available for a firearm. Now, Gunbox's mission is to help keep kids and their families safe while having access to a firearm readily available. Their line of gun safes have an audible alarm if they're moved or tampered with. Add-on mobile alert subscription that will send a notification to a smartphone if the safe has been moved or tampered with, or if the battery drops under a specific percentage of charge. No other gun safe has as much tech or features as their line. Use Mojo50 at checkout. That's promo code Mojo50 at checkout for 10% off all your orders over $159. check it out. Their products are insane. They have the Gunbox 2.0. They have the Echo. They have the SK1. The SK1 actually looks pretty wild. I'm going to pull that up on my screen right now, see if I can get it to go, because my internet connection has been a little wonky. But look at this. This is the SK1 Tactical. This is for a full-blown rifle. I mean, I have a couple of rifles. It would be just wild if I could grab one of these. I mean, I have to make it a point. You should too. And now's a great opportunity with promo code MOJO50. Go on thegunbox.com and check that out. Gunbox.com, MOJO50. So we have a little bit of time left on the bottom here. I think I can squeeze in one more story if I make it a quick one. By the way, how you guys digging like the new digs, like the surrounds? I mean, this looks good. I mean, it looks fancy schmancy. I got like the bricks on this side, and I got like the map of the world on this side, and I just screwed up the video a little bit, so I kind of took away some of the mystique. But yeah, it looks good, I think. But anywho, let me see here. Grab that story up. All right, this is the New Yorker. And the unimaginable reality of American concentration camps. Look at this. The debate over Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's use of the term concentration camp. Oh, wait. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, by the way. It's not about language or facts. It's about how we perceive history and ourselves in history, man. I don't know why I just turned into Tommy Chong, but I might use that again later. But this is just an insane perversion of language. And, you know, I've heard the likes of this before. And it came back in the Obama days. Let me see if I can pull up that audio for you really quick. May 14th of 2018. Okay, well that didn't work. Hang on just a second. Let's see if I can pull this up. So I'm trying to pull up this audio from Michelle Obama back in 2008 talking about how we're going to have to change our language. We're going to have to change our history. Here we go. Yeah, that's just not working for me. Oh well. I'm going to have to figure out what's going on with my audio. But anyway, Michelle Obama notably said this, and this is back in 2008, that we're going to have to change our traditions. And I'm bumping into the bottom of the hour here. That went nowhere. That's okay. I'm probably going to edit it out anyway. Stick around for the next half hour here on the HoloNet on the mighty Mojo 50.
Allied reinforcements have arrived from the west.
On Mojo 50 Radio. The Millennial Conservative Resistance begins right here, right now.
And we're back. You're listening to the new Millennial Conservative Resistance, which begins right here, right now with you. You're listening to the HoloNet on the mighty Mojo 50. We go to a story now. Now that I totally bollocksed up the bottom of the hour, but that's okay. We're going to a story now from The Atlantic, of all places, by David Graham, staff writer over The Atlantic. My time is up. I'm sorry. This is a story where he pretty subtly takes a nice jab at former Vice President Joe Biden. And it's going to go back to something we were referring to earlier. You know, I'm pretty much just going to have to term this whole episode to be like the Dem debate follow-up, but it is what it is. This goes back to that little interaction between Kamala Harris and Joe Biden regarding busing. So, I'll kind of cut to the end here. All right. Kamala Harris started, "As the only black person on stage, I would like to speak on the issue of race," she said to applause. Then she turned and took a dagger to Biden, invoking his recent baffling anecdote about working with the segregationist Senator James Eastland. She said, "I do not believe you are a racist, and I agree with you when you commit yourself to the importance of finding common ground. But I also believe, and it's personal, that I was actually it was hurtful to hear you talk about the reputations of two United States senators who built their reputations and career on the segregation of race in this country. And it was not only that, but you also worked with them to oppose busing. And you know, there was a little girl in California who was a part of the second class to integrate her public schools, and she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me." By the way, jury's still out on that little aside. Apparently a couple of conservative outlets are trying to dig out whether she was actually a part of a class that got bused, but we'll hear about that later, I'm sure. So I will tell you that on this subject, it cannot be an intellectual debate among Democrats. We have to take it seriously. We have to act swiftly. The Atlantic goes on to write, "This was no spontaneous attack. Harris had clearly planned the ambush. And it worked. Biden was defensive. It's a mischaracterization of my position across the board. I do not praise racists. That's not true," he said, rebutting an attack that Harris had not made. You know it's bad when you're deflecting from something the other person didn't even say. It means you came prepared for that attack and it fell flat. What was to come was even shakier. Biden meandered through a confusing response, invoking his career as a public defender in Wilmington, Delaware, riots in that city after Martin Luther King Jr.'s assassination, and his work as Barack Obama's vice president, without spelling out what this added up to. Harris was unimpressed. "Do you agree today that you were wrong to oppose busing in America then?" she asked. Biden insisted that wasn't his position. Harris was still able to be bused to schools in Berkeley, he said, because the local government made that choice. "What I opposed is busing ordered by the Department of Education," he said. This is a thin defense, The Atlantic writes, as Biden must have known. Throughout the civil rights movement, Southern governments, no, not California, raised the banner of local control in their fight against civil rights. The federal government ought not force measures such as busing or integration itself, they argued. The fact that Biden's stand against federally mandated busing was a political winner is a reminder that Delaware is south of the Mason-Dixon line, geographically and at times politically. But as Harris was quick to point out, only Washington had the muscle to step in and force the hand of local governments in using local control as a smokescreen to maintain discrimination. Point of order. I really need to check their homework here on the Mason-Dixon line. I do not think Delaware was south of the Mason-Dixon. I grew up in Jersey. I've been to Delaware. Hell, I lived in Virginia for a little while. Let me see here. I remember history class, damn it. Okay, no, according to Britannica.com. So Encyclopedia Britannica, Delaware is not, I repeat, not south of the Mason-Dixon line. The Mason-Dixon line began at Maryland. So, Atlantic, you might want to fire your research department. Here, I'm pulling it up on Britannica right now, going full screen. Yep, I'm calling complete and total bullshit on that one. You can see that the western border of Delaware makes up the downward angle of the 90-degree angle of the Mason-Dixon line. It forms a right angle between the state of Pennsylvania and the state of Delaware. Nice job, guys. Research fail. Okay, moving on. Okay, Kamala Harris said there was a failure of states to integrate public schools in America. She said, noting that even schools in the famously liberal Berkeley were barely integrated 2 decades after Brown versus the Board of Education. So that's where the federal government must step in. That's why we have a Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. And that's why we need to pass the Equality Act. Hang on a second. That's why we need to pass the ERA, because there are moments in history where states fail to preserve the civil rights of all people. Never mind the fact that the Equal Rights Amendment is simply enshrining that which already exists, because there is no gender pay gap in the United States, people. This has been thoroughly and roundly rebuked and debunked. Biden was now on his heels, sputtering about old votes. He said, I supported the ERA from the beginning. I'm the guy who extended the Voting Rights Act for 25 years and got to the place where we got 98 out of 98 votes in the United States for doing it. I also argued very strongly that we in fact deal with the notion of denying people access to the ballot box, he said. Biden's long record is a double-edged sword. He can point to votes for the Equal Rights Amendment when it was a hot-button issue the first time around, but he also served alongside men such as Eastland and Strom Thurmond, and his dredging up of history cuts both ways. Finally, he finished sounding petulant. Quote, anyway, my time is up. I'm sorry. The potential double entendre applying to both his answer on the debate stage and his command of the Democratic race was not lost on anyone who heard it. Joe, buddy, you've lost the Atlantic. That's gotta hurt. And I mean, the hits just keep on coming. Fox News, Kamala Harris. Oh no, I'll come back to this. This is funny. But, where did it go? Where'd it go? I had a story up here that I wanted to show you because it's funny. Oh, I hate it when that happens. I hate it. Anyway. Yeah, here we go. New York Times, Biden pushing back on criticism on civil rights. Okay, I had a story up here from the Blaze. Or did I not pull that yet? Hang on, let me see if I can get that story up here. Because it's funny times. It really is. Joe Biden's polls right now are terrible. His post-debate polling, I'd be worried if I was him. Here we go. Blaze.com. Biden drops in poll after the debate as one of the candidates who attacked him got a huge jump. So one of the first polls to be released after Democratic debates is very bad news for a presidential campaign of former Vice President Joe Biden, current frontrunner. The Morning Consult 538 poll found that support for Biden had fallen by 10 points among likely Democratic voters overnight. 41.5% of likely voters said they supported the campaign before the debate, but only 31.5% said so after. The lively debate saw Senator Kamala Harris attack Biden for comments he made about school busing. He defended himself And she saw a 9-point increase from Democratic voters from the 7.9% before the debate to 16.9% after. So, ooh, that hurt. But can anybody else imagine a Trump-Kamala Harris series of presidential debates? Whew. That's going to be rough to watch. I really don't know if Kamala Harris is ready for what he has to bring. She was close to tears in last night's debate. So imagine what this could devolve into in late 2019. Anyway. Hey, I mentioned before, earlier in the program a little earlier, about being able to put your money where your mouth is and being able to vote with your dollars. You need to check out Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is the mobile phone company that is actually going to donate to and support the conservative and libertarian causes that you support. Right now, the left is desperate. They're creating chaos, and we're not going to be able to reverse it if we don't stop it now. Far-left politicians have become unhinged. The media bias is at an all-time high. Anti-Semitism is running rampant. And you don't have to shop with liberal cell phone companies that fund liberal agendas to take away your freedom. You can support your values with veteran-led Patriot Mobile. It's America's only conservative cell phone company, providing reliable nationwide coverage. It's easy to switch. Keep your same phone number, bring your own device, or buy a new one. Enjoy no hidden fees, no roaming fees, no liberal agenda. Okay, so that is on patriotmobile.com/mojo50. patriotmobile.com/mojo50. Now, they've spent more than $2 million to support our constitutional rights. Imagine what they can do with the additional support from our Mojo 50 audience. They have unlimited talk and text plans starting as low as $25 a month, so don't wait. Join us and stop the progressive left from taking over today. That's patriotmobile.com/mojo50. They've actually got a new promo out. I think it's Make the Switch or something like that. I have to pull that up. Let me get you that correct code here. You know, really getting good at these live reads, I gotta say. I'm truly unlocking my talent for the live reads. Hey, so while I'm pulling that up, I think I'm going to get into two for here. Have you guys been on mojo50.com yet under the shop section? Number one, you can pick up cool little things like this little tchotchke, like the little, can keeper. But there's a couple other things on there you ought to check out. Here we go. Here we go. You go to the Mojo 50 shop, and we actually have CBD oil there now, which is brought to us through the same people, the same great people over at Outskirts. So if you have a chance to check that out, please do so. Go on to mojo50.com/shop, and you can actually browse around on there. You can pick up all your sweet swag, all the fun things that are on there. Sorry, I pulled up the wrong thing. All the cool things that are on here, like our hats, our shirts, and now you can actually pick up the CBD extracts and supplements as well. And what is going on with my laptop, man? Oh, it's good times. I love it when stuff works, don't you? So anyhow, I digress. If you go on mojo50shop.com, you get a $15% off your purchase there of CBD oils. Use promo code MATT, M-A-T-T. That's promo code MATT, M-A-T-T, on mojo50.com/shop, and check out our CBD oils that are available there for you. Now, the cool thing is if you're already taking Atrantil, the CBD oils actually work in conjunction with them, which I think is really actually kind of wild. So check that out. if you're using CBD oils for pain relief or anything like that, or to help suppress any issues that you're having with your body, your digestion, help you feel better and sleep at night, pick it up through Mojo 50. Support this great network and the voices that you want to hear. Again, that's mojo50.com/shop. And pick up your CBD oil there. $15 off with promo code MATT. And it's the highest strength tincture out there. Best price per milligram for clean, full spectrum CBD. 30 milliliter, 1 ounce glass bottle containing 900 milligrams of CBD. And it's a full spectrum cannabinoid extract. Helps with sleeping, acne and pain, seizures, and inflammation. All right. So back to the show. I'm going to pull up the stories now. Come on. Now that my laptop is done having its own seizure. Want to jump to the Daily Beast. Because President Trump has had a series of setbacks in the courts over the last couple of days. And even just very recently here on Friday. But Jay Michelson writes, in surprise census decision, gotta love the Daily Beast's headlines, Supreme Court finally calls BS on the Trump administration. The court voted 5-4 to delay and perhaps doom adding a citizenship question to the census because the Commerce Secretary, Wilbur Ross, lied about the real reason for doing it, apparently. That's just deceptive writing. But Chief Justice Roberts wrote, reasoned decision-making under the Administrative Procedure Act calls for an explanation for agency action. What was provided here was more of a distraction, so he didn't say that he lied. Notably, the case was not a complete victory for opponents of the question. Here we go. The court held that a citizenship question is constitutional, and that Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross, who is responsible for the census, was within his authority to set aside dire warnings from the Census Bureau that the question would depress participation. But it's a major victory for two reasons. First, the citizenship question is unlikely to be on the 2020 census, which is actually catastrophic for the United States, that our voting districts are going to be influenced by the numbers of people here who are not American citizens. I can't stress this enough. This is stupidity given form, and it's a technicality that the Supreme Court has ruled on. And really, I'm a little bit pissed off at Wilbur Ross for not actually doing this right and pointing out to the Supreme Court that you cannot effectively divvy out representation of American citizens and support of American citizens through dedicated support systems and programs such as welfare, such as hospital funding, education funding, etc., so on, when you're not getting an accurate count of American citizens. And this is where, the ACLU and the New York Immigration Coalition asked the district court to sanction government officials for lying in court. And it just goes on and on and on. Yeah, this basically shows, from emails and memos clearly showing Secretary Ross misrepresented the timeline and rationale for the question. You don't need to provide rationale for the question. The census is designed to count American citizens, to determine how the United States government will divest out the various benefits and the various budgeting that it has to in order to function. If you're not limiting your count to exclusively American citizens, you're skewing the numbers in favor of states who are violating federal law by providing sanctuary to illegal immigrants. So you're skewing it in favor of California, Oregon, Washington, New Mexico. Nice job, guys. Time. How are we doing on time? Okay. I gotta keep my show clock up. But I mentioned that multiple defeats in the courts. Judge blocks Trump from using billions in military funds for the border wall. This is just recently here on Friday. A federal judge on Friday issued a ruling blocking the Trump administration from tapping billions of dollars in military funds to construct a wall on the United States' southern border. U.S. District Judge Hayward Gilliam issued a permanent injunction in California federal court. Shocker. After initially ruling last month to temporarily halt the administration's use of military funds for the border wall, President Trump declared national emergency earlier this year in order to divert $6 billion of Defense Department funds toward the border wall construction. Friday's ruling blocks the administration from using $2.5 billion in military funds for the wall. The injunction halts border wall construction already in progress at different sites in New Mexico, California, Arizona, and Texas, expanding on the previous ruling. Gilliam, an Obama appointee, you don't say, made the ruling on the military funds in a lawsuit brought forward by several groups, including the ACLU and the Sierra Club, challenging diversion of military funds under the scope of a national emergency order. Trump administration argued the use of the military funds was lawful, as the need for the funding was unforeseen, and lawyers claimed that they had been unable to award federal dollars to contractors by the end of the fiscal year. They may lose funding. In his ruling Friday, Gilliam wrote that the administration lawyers, quote, present no new evidence for argument for why the court should depart from its prior decision, and it will not, because no new factual or legal arguments persuade the court that its analysis in the preliminary injunction order was wrong. The group's likelihood of success on the merits has ripened into actual success, the ruling reads. The judge also found that the group suing to block use of military funds for the wall would suffer irreparable harm over the border wall construction because, quote, it will harm their ability to recreate in and otherwise enjoy public land along the border.
Response, were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought? Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it. I award you no points, and may God have mercy on your soul.
Get ready. Here it comes. With all due respect, due to a member of the bench of the United States federal court system, Judge Gilliam, you are a moron. You are an aphatic wacko. You are a brainless dipshit if you believe for a second that people, especially in the state of Arizona, are seeking to recreate in lands adjacent to the border. Okay? Even in Stovepipe Cactus National Monument, I believe it is, where they have all that beautiful land set aside, it's a frigging demilitarized zone. Were you not paying attention last week when the representative for Arizona, Mr. David Schweikert, Representative Schweikert, informed you that a couple of miles south of Douglas, Arizona, in Agua Prieta, there are gun battles taking place, and that people are being advised to avoid the area, that there are parts of Maricopa, Gila, Pinal counties where you cannot set foot as an American citizen without risking getting shot by the cartels. Of course not, because you're a California justice, probably sitting comfortably in Sacramento, very far from the border wall in San Diego and Tijuana, very far from the porous border when you get out toward Calexico and Mexicali, very far away from the Imperial Desert where so many illegal immigrants attempt to cross over, very far from Blythe, very far from Yuma, where these crossings happen every day, and where gun violence explodes across our southern frontier. You, sir, wouldn't know your ass from a hole in the ground if you think for a second that people are flocking to recreate in the land adjacent to our border with Mexico. Unless you're referring to the beach in San Diego, which even then, the big-ass steel wall is a tourist attraction. People love taking selfies on it. Gilliam wrote that while he does not minimize the administration's interest in border security, he determined that, quote, the balance of hardships and public interest is in favor of the groups opposing the wall. Still, the judge declined to rule on whether the Trump administration violated the National Environmental Policy Act. He said Congress was clear in denying funds. Oh, wait, that's an attorney with the ACLU. I'm not even going to give him the breath from my lips on that one. But I rest knowing and hoping that since President Trump has evened out the Ninth Circuit Court, that this federal judge will, metaphorically speaking, have that ruling slammed down upon him very shortly. This needs to go to the Ninth Circuit Appellate Court, and from there it should go all the way up to the Supreme Court, because the President, as Commander-in-Chief of the military, has absolutely every right to divert military funding toward what is clearly a national defense initiative. Nothing could be more literally national defense than building a wall on the border of a nation. It is perhaps the most literal and physical translation of the concept of national defense. And the Sierra Club can go watch their birds elsewhere. How about them Giants, huh? Now, there are a couple of stories we didn't get to. I know I wanted to get to a couple more pieces on Biden pushing back against the criticism that he's been facing. But one thing I did want to go to from our very own local rag, AZ Central, here in Arizona. Maricopa County is already trying to prevent a 2020 voting disaster. Here's how. Fewer than 9 months, Maricopa County voters will cast ballots in the March presidential preference election. The election will kick off the highly anticipated 2020 election cycle in Arizona, which could have local, state, and national implications. Whew. Now, Maricopa County, if you didn't know, last year had a pretty horrific voting record. During the 2018 August primary, Adrian Fontes, the current recorder's first major election, 62 polling places around the county were not set up and ready to accept voters when the polls were supposed to open. The early morning woes gave way to a multitude of other issues that should have been quick fixes but lingered throughout the day. The November general election had far fewer logistical issues, but criticism of Fontes continued. So, we have an issue with elections here in Arizona, and the kind of shenanigans that groups like Google and Facebook are now trying to play. When I hear Maricopa County is trying to prevent a 2020 voting disaster, in my other ear, in the back of my mind, I hear a Google executive on Project Veritas talking about how hard they're working to prevent another quote-unquote Trump situation in 2020. And I wonder, when Maricopa County's Adrian Fontes is talking about preventing a 2020 voting disaster, which particular type of voting disaster does he have in mind? The kind where somebody he doesn't like gets elected? Not sure. But on that note, good night. God bless you. And God bless the United States of America. From Phoenix, Arizona, I'm Matt Holloway. End transmission.